I know this is going to rattle a lot of cages, but we need to talk about it. There's real noise, serious whispers and growing signals that Caitlin Clark might walk away from the WNBA. And the number tied to that decision? $340 million. That's not a typo. $340 million. An offer on the table from an unrivaled league that wants to lure the most popular women's basketball player in the world away from the WNBA permanently. And before you say, no way, ask yourself, why wouldn't she consider it? Looking at this thing right here, be with ours driven by ZX by the K and R2 unrivaled. I literally, if you guys haven't watched my videos for last year, my whole thing was I always said how this season went would show what she was going to do. I said if she goes and wins an MVP or is an MVP candidate this year, she's going to take the all season off again. If she's not an MVP candidate or regresses from a rookie year, which, yes, she regressed because of injuries, but she did regress. The WNBA hasn't exactly embraced her. She's been elbowed, criticized, and left exposed while the league milked her image. And now, with the season over for her, some of us are wondering, has Caitlin Clark already mentally checked out of this league? Stick with me. What I'm about to break down isn't rumor. It's the harsh truth nobody else wants to say out loud. Let's address the headline first. That $340 million number is real. It's not just sports gossip. It's being floated by insiders connected to an emerging women's sports league outside of the WNBA. An independent, privately backed league that's quietly building up capital, celebrity endorsements, and a plan to flip the hierarchy of women's basketball. And who do you think is at the top of their target list? Caitlin Clark. Look, she's not just a player, she's a media magnet. She's got more reach, more ratings power, and more commercial value than any other player in the league right now. She's already proven that when she's on the court, the numbers jump. TV ratings, ticket sales, jersey sales, all up. And these rival leagues, they see that. And they're not shy about putting money where the WNBA won't. So why would Caitlin not consider it? The WNBA rookie max contract, just over $75,000 a year. Even with endorsement deals, her on-court salary doesn't reflect her value. A $340 million offer, likely stretched over several years with the bonuses, incentives, equity. That's generational money. That's own your league money. And it's not just about the cash, it's about control. In the WNBA, Caitlin's image is being used without full protection. She's taking hits, literally and figuratively, while the league banks on her name. Meanwhile, another league is offering her respect, security, and front-facing leadership. It's a tempting pitch. Let's get right into it, folks, shall we? Because there are so many different ways to skin a cat. As they say, no pun intended, unrivaled hits, $340 million valuation. Doubles revenue projections. My first thought, oh, congratulations, Unrivaled. Great job. You did it. You did it. You did it. Hooray. Shout out to Dora the Explorer. Let's be honest. If this were an NBA star with the same situation, we'd say it's a business decision. But because it's Caitlin, people act shocked she might consider something bigger. Here's the truth. If the WNBA won't treat her like the star she is, someone else will. Now, before anyone jumps in the comments to say, Caitlin Clark would never leave the WNBA, let me stop you right there. You need to understand who Caitlin Clark really is before you assume what she will or won't do. Because Caitlin isn't just a player chasing trophies, she's an empire in the making, and she knows it. We've all seen what she did at Iowa, the records, the game winners, the historic NCAA tournament run. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was shifting the entire narrative around women's college sports. She drew crowds that rivaled men's games. She brought in viewers who'd never watched women's basketball before, and the WNBA knew that when they drafted her. The problem is, they haven't handled her like a once-in-a-generation asset. Instead of rolling out protection, leadership, and brand investment, the league threw her into the deep end, on a team still finding its identity, with veterans who didn't hide their resentment. We saw the hits, we saw the disrespect, and what made it worse? Nobody stepped up. She got elbowed, she got targeted, and the response from the WNBA was radio silence. That silence speaks volumes. Now ask yourself, if you're Caitlin Clark and you've carried this kind of weight on and off the court for 2 straight years and someone offers you peace of mind, control, and $340 million, do you really laugh it off? Because I wouldn't, especially when you factor in the subtle tension from inside the league. Let's be real, some of her peers didn't embrace her rise. They saw her popularity as a threat. They made comments like, "Everyone deserves the same attention," or "Don't crown her yet." Those sound like harmless sound bites, but when they're coming from players who've been grinding for years, it's not support, it's a warning. And Caitlin's smart. She knows when she's being celebrated and when she's being used. She also knows when she's being iced out. That kind of locker room energy doesn't just fade, it lingers, and it makes you think. You think about your health, your money, your legacy. You think about being more than just a player. You think about being a movement. And let's not ignore the emotional weight of this past season. Injuries, criticism, pressure, the expectation to save a franchise. It takes a toll. And for someone as focused as Caitlin, stepping away to reset, to realign, and to take control of her future. Now, maybe they didn't have it last year, but now they have deep enough pockets. They have a well that they could go to. Reach in that well, pull out a big bag of money, and finally approach the big dog with a real contract. Finally approach the big dog with a real offer. That's not running, it's strategy. So, no, I don't think the idea of Caitlin Clark leaving the WNBA is far-fetched. I think it's calculated. And the fact that we're even discussing it right now, that says more about the state of the league than it does about her loyalty. She's loyal to the game, but that doesn't mean she has to stay in a system that doesn't respect her worth. Let's get uncomfortable for a second, because this is the part no one wants to say on camera. The truth is, Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the WNBA as a top draft pick. She entered as a disruptor. She didn't fit the mold. She didn't wait her turn. And whether people admit it or not, her very presence exposed some long-standing fractures within the league. You've heard the whispers. You've seen the comments. There's been real pushback from inside the WNBA. Veteran players who feel like Caitlin skipped the line, who think her fame came too easy. Some of them aren't hiding it. They've said publicly that no one player should be put on a pedestal, that the league shouldn't revolve around one name, that the attention she gets is unfair. But here's my question. Since when did star power become a problem? In every professional league, stars drive viewership. Stars get paid. Stars attract fans. And yet, in the WNBA, when Caitlin Clark does exactly that, when she breaks records, sells out arenas, and gets people watching, it's seen as a threat instead of an asset. That's not Caitlin's fault. That's the league's insecurity showing. And what's worse, instead of rallying around her rise, parts of the league seemed almost determined to humble her. That's why no one came to her defense after she took repeated cheap shots on the court. That's why veteran players downplayed her impact at every press conference. And that's why, even now, her absence isn't treated with concern. It's treated like an inconvenience. Jason Whitlock called it what it is. One of the biggest fumbles in professional sports. You had the most valuable rookie in league history, and instead of protecting her, you let her get dragged by the media, by opponents, and even by your own silence. The WNBA should have used Caitlin Clark to lift the entire league. Instead, it allowed resentment to take over the narrative. And you know what that does? It creates a toxic environment for players and fans. It makes the league look fragile. It tells future stars that if they shine too bright, they'll be dimmed by their own teammates. Caitlin didn't ask to be a controversy, she just wanted to hoop. But now she's caught in a cultural tug-of-war where her success is questioned her toughness is tested, and her loyalty is taken for granted. And that's exactly the kind of environment that makes someone ask, why am I even here? If the WNBA doesn't fix that internal tension, if it doesn't start protecting and empowering its stars, then Caitlin Clark walking away won't be a shock. It'll be a blueprint for others to follow. Let's not be naive. The WNBA is no longer the only destination for elite women's basketball talent. There are rival leagues forming, some quietly, some loudly, and they're watching this Caitlin Clark situation unfold with one mindset: opportunity. The moment you have a league that sidelines its biggest star, lets her take hits, fumbles her image, and mismanages her injury, that's a crack in the foundation, and cracks attract disruption. We're talking about investor-backed leagues, platforms that don't carry the legacy weight or old politics of the WNBA. These new players in the market aren't here to compete, they're here to overtake. And they're starting with the biggest names like Caitlin Clark. Now here's what separates them from the WNBA. They understand value. These upstart leagues aren't offering $75,000 contracts. They're offering brand partnerships, revenue shares, content deals, and media control. They're not pitching, we'll take care of you. They're saying, we'll build around you. And if you think this is all fantasy, just look at what happened in men's golf with Alive, or what's happening in boxing, in MMA, in NIL deals, and college sports. Once someone proves there's a fan base and money in a sport, the gatekeepers don't hold the keys anymore. Money does. Now imagine you're Caitlin Clark. You've seen the disrespect. You've heard the noise. You've carried a franchise and a league that couldn't even shield you from on-court targeting. Then a rival league knocks on your door with a $340 million offer, full brand control, a custom media platform, and a say in operations. It's not just tempting, it's smart. And if you think that's far-fetched, remember, Caitlin isn't tied to the WNBA by some emotional debt. She's a professional. She's a brand. She's a business. And right now, she's being offered the chance to go from player to founding icon of a new era. The WNBA needs to wake up. They're not just at risk of losing Caitlin Clark, they're at risk of losing the future. Because if she walks, that sends a message to every other rising star. You don't need the WNBA to go pro. You just need leverage. And these rival leagues, they're waiting for that moment. They're watching how the WNBA treats its stars. They're watching the backlash, the silence, the missteps. And they're building their offer, not just for Caitlin, but for the next Caitlin, for Angel Reese, for Juju Watkins, for whoever's next. The WNBA thinks they're too big to fail. But in sports, all it takes is one generational star to walk away. And the whole structure collapses. Look, I'm not here to stir the pot just to get a reaction. I'm here because, as someone who's watched every second of Caitlin Clark's rise, I think we're standing at a crossroads. And if I'm being real, if I'm Caitlin, I'm seriously considering that $340 million offer. Not because I'm disloyal, not because I want drama, but because the WNBA hasn't shown me that they're ready to protect me, promote me, or partner with me at the level I deserve. Let's review. I brought millions of fans to the league. I've broken viewing records. I've put money in everybody's pockets, from team owners to broadcast execs. And in return, I've been roughed up, disrespected by peers, and left to carry a franchise on one leg. Literally. Now imagine someone walks in and offers you financial security, brand control, a supportive structure, and a league built around your vision. That's not disloyalty, that's business. And if the WNBA wants to keep their biggest star, they'd better start acting like they know what she's worth. I don't say this lightly, but maybe walking away isn't betrayal. Maybe it's setting a new standard. Because let's be honest, Caitlin Clark leaving the WNBA wouldn't be the end of her story. It would be the beginning of a new chapter in how women's sports value their stars. It would force conversations about pay, about safety, about leadership, and most importantly, it would wake up a league that's gotten way too comfortable relying on outdated systems to carry modern talent. But here's the other side. Maybe Caitlin doesn't need to leave. Maybe this is her chance to reshape the league from the inside. Force the system to evolve. Use her voice, her reach, and her power to demand better, not just for herself, but for every woman in the league grinding without the spotlight. That's the real decision here. And it's not easy. Do you walk away and build something new? Or do you stay and force change where it matters most? If I'm Caitlin, I weigh everything. The money, the respect, the culture, and I make the move that secures my legacy and shifts the sport forward. Because one thing's for sure, she's not just a player anymore. She's a movement, and movements don't wait around for permission. Now I want to hear from you. Should Caitlin Clark stay in the WNBA and fight for change? Or should she take the $340 million and rewrite the rules entirely? Drop your take in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more real talk like this, no PR, no filters, just truth, hit that subscribe button. Because the Caitlin Clark story, it's just getting started.